situations where I say, like, what do you want to get out of this conversation? You know, if I say I'll call you she, and it's like, you're like, and you agree that I'm a woman, like, look, you said you want to call you, like, what do you want out of this, right? Do you want me to call you she, or do you want to have this whole, my belief system? Like, I respect you enough as a human being to call you whatever you would like. Yeah. Can we stop there? What up, what up, what up, what up? Is your boy Ferg from Three Brothers No Sense, your favorite barbershop style podcast. I'm joined with my co-host today, Buff and Rozzy. Fellas, what it do?
We're all women. According to Donald J. Trump and his new executive order. His executive orders have just been wild anyway, so we'll run down. I'm sure we'll talk about a bunch of them. But that one kind of threw me for a loop. So they tried to define what a man and a woman is. He signed an executive order saying that there's only two genders and it is male and female, and he defined it as male means a person belonging at conception to the sex that produces a small reproductive cell. And the problem with that is that for the first 6 weeks of gestation, everybody has the exact same. So when he says at conception, it means that everybody is a female. So everybody has the same reproductive organs. You don't actually start forming reproductive organs until about 6 weeks of gestation. And so, we're all women. So that goes down to just the not thought out processes of some of these executive orders. But I'm scared, bro. Like, we are, a weekend now, or a little bit under a weekend, and we've got ICE raids going on all over the place. ICE is trying to go into schools, right? Like, they raided a school because some kid, like, said something about Donald Trump, and all of a sudden ICE is at their school. Like, it's wild, man. The amount of just racism really ultimately is what it comes down to. People are having to walk around with their, if they look Hispanic, they literally have to walk around with their naturalization papers. It's giving Germany circa 1930s, and it really does scare me. And then I just have so many people that's coming and trying to defend a lot of these policies, and even from the black community, they're trying to defend these communities, talking about, him banning DEI isn't a bad thing, blah 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 blah, and then these private companies coming on board and saying, DEI doesn't matter, Target pulled theirs and all that, and I'm just like, folks don't understand how much we fought to get these initiatives so that we could get a fair shake, and they're rolling us back. People are talking about, they're trying to take us back to the 1960s. No, they're trying to take us back to Reconstruction. They're trying to take us back to where you could legally and openly discriminate and there be no repercussions about it, because it's like, if there are any repercussions, then you're DEI and all of that. And it's saddening, man. I had a whole bunch of other stuff to talk about, but I used up way too much time, I think, on just my little rant on that. So I'm just going to get a bit over to you guys, sit and sulk a little bit, and maybe I'll jump back in a little bit. But yeah, I'm disgusted.
Okay. So I'm gonna go a little non-political real quick. So Adam Schefter, that works for ESPN, he's like, for those of you that don't know, he's like an NFL insider. He gets like a lot of the breaking news from teams around the league. And he revealed that sometimes when he gets certain NFL news, he goes and makes changes to his fantasy football team, and then he'll tweet the news out. And I just want to say, after that, I would never be in a league with that dude ever again. That's shady as hell, Mr. Schefter. So that, and just sticking with sports, man. I just want to say, this is like you guys may not know, this is like my third season now rooting for the Ravens, but this year it went to a catastrophic level, my fandom. But, I just want to say that fans continue to be one of the worst parts of sports. And listen, man, I'm the guy, I had to sit there and watch the guy I was rooting for, Earl Spence, get demolished by Terrence Crawford. I know sports comes with heartbreak, the team that you invest in. I mean, y'all have heard Ferg talk about the Cowboys and how I don't think y'all are divorced, Ferg. Y'all are like separate. Y'all seeing other people right now, right?
We're in an open relationship. Yeah. So we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about that later.
They got a new coach too, by the way. But so as a Ravens fan, last week they played the Bills. It came down to a 2-point conversion to try to tie the game. And I would say, future Hall of Fame tight end, he dropped a relatively easy catch. And listen, I was pissed. I ain't like it. But what I didn't do is go to the man page and wish death on him and tell him how he needs to be traded, how he needs to die, and hope he can't manage his diabetes anymore. By the way, he has diabetes. Like, he literally, every time the offense goes back on the sideline, he has to check his glucose levels and things like that. Like, I didn't even know that. The things that they wished upon this man, I'm like, just once again, man, fans take shit way too far. Just way too far. So do better, fans, because I can't stand y'all. I really can't. Y'all are one of the worst parts of sports. But that's all I got, man.
Yeah, it's funny you said that because two things. You're talking about fandom. And it's funny because that's part of like the reason I think so many people hate the Cowboys is, they're fans. But I will say for the most part, they have the most loyal fan base ever.
This is true.
Right. They have the most loyal base. Like, and I don't know if it's because it's like they're always under attack together. And so they just band together. And it's like, man, we have nothing to lose at this point because everybody's going to hate us. So why be a fan and then just be over here sad? But they get angry. But I've never seen some of the backlash I've seen over the last couple of weeks, and just with some of the big misses and stuff like that. But
it's like that meme. It's like, is this your man? You're like, that's my man, and I'm sticking by him. It's
like, I know all love is conditional, but some of these same fans throughout the year, he was setting Ravens records this year. We love you, Mark Andrews. We love you. We love you. No, you don't. That man dropped one pass and y'all wish death on it.
Right. He fumbled too, Buff, so that was...
He did. Oh, the fumble may have been worse than the drop. The drop to me. Yeah. Because I feel like they was about to drive and score.
Yeah, so it was funny because there was two things. When they went for that 2-point conversion earlier, I'm like, that might not be a good move. Like, I literally was like, there's going to be that might come back to bite them.
It did.
And they that failed 2-point conversion. And you know what? Because I've been rooting for the Ravens as I look for. It's similar to you probably heard me. We talked about this for years. The Romo Dak type situation where it's, get rid of this person, and get who, right? Mm-hmm. Like this year, I've been rooting for the Texans. I've been rooting for the Ravens, and at the end of the year, when it comes down to it, only one team can win.
Yeah,
right. You have a 1 in 32 chance of picking the right team.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it just it sucks. It's like, well, you just need to leave them alone and go here. It's like, you know what? The rest of these teams at the end of the day, if your only goal is a championship, are just as disappointing. However, when you make bonehead moves outside the field,
that's what'll piss you off.
Yeah. That's what pissed me off. So when I saw the news that the Dallas Cowboys got a new head coach, Scheidenheimer, I'm like, did the dad come out of retirement or something? Because there's no way. There's no way that they hired Brian, who was it's just, he was part of the cog already. Like, he was already in the machine. I'm assuming he's going to be another yes man for Jerry Jones for the next 4 years or so. So at this point, it's just easy to say, they're like my side chick at this point. Like, I'm open. They're a sneaky link, I don't know what to say. I'm looking for a team.
Y'all broke up, but y'all still smashing. That's really what it is. It's that.
It's not even that we're smashing, bro. I probably watched 2 Cowboy games this year, and I don't even watch them all the way through. It's the fact that I can smash if I know I needed to. Like if I wanted to, right? It's just like, you check in, just, getting a little fight just to keep them close and all that stuff. But it's just sad. But they are just making horrible moves as an organ. Like, it's just continuous horrible moves. And I just they waited too late to get in the coaching pool. And then out of all the people they got, this is who they get. I'm flabbergasted. So, and you mentioned, Razi, Nazi Germany, reminiscent with the Rays and ice, baby. That kind of made you think of Nazi Germany. I'm gonna give you another thing that made me think of Nazi Germany. This one guy who was connected to Trump, because I'm not gonna say his name either, when he saluted the crowd with the
with a hail. Yeah.
I'm like, this is day one.
Yeah.
This looks like if politics had a game GTA version, this is what it looks like. It's like everything that you can do, they're doing. And people from day one defended that. And I don't even know how. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see. And I'm just hoping it's just a lot up front and things are going to settle down. It's going to get politics to normal. I don't even know what to believe anymore. I'm kind of, I will say I'm out of the loop. I've heard too many potential rumors and too many, executive order did this and he's changing this, like the one about child support. I don't know how deep that goes.
Yeah, that was false. That was made up. So yeah, that's not real.
Which, that's a whole nother conversation. Immigration. It's just going to be very interesting to see how this goes. But there's a lot of angry people who voted for him already. So you get what you vote for. Yeah.
I saw some post about chick was like, we didn't think that he would do it. And,
wow.
And then she came back and was like, why is everybody talking about F around and find out and being so negative and blah, 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 blah. It doesn't matter who you voted for. You guys aren't affected. I'm like, it does matter who you voted for. That's the problem that you're not understanding. It matters who you voted for. He said he was going to do it. Don't try to walk that back and be like, we didn't think he would really do it. It's like, we told y'all he would really do it. So I'm so frustrated by it, but at the same time, like you said, or we said, right, we don't want to give oxygen to it and just like keep talking about it, but I'm tracking it because it's affecting my people. It's affecting our communities, right? When you talk about pulling back DEI, when you talk about things like pulling the WASPs, so the Women Air Aviation Corps and the Tuskegee Airmen, they pulled that out of basic training at the Air Force, so they can't talk about that anymore because of the anti-DEI stuff. Those are actual things that are happening. And that's really what is really, really concerning to me, is that, they're walking back these protections. They're walking back affirmative action and not allowing that executive order that took away the affirmative action and in contracting, in federal contracting and things like that. Like, those matter, especially I just joined an organization that's a minority owned organization. There is no way that they wouldn't have gotten to where they are without these DEI policies. And not to say they aren't qualified to do it. They wouldn't have been looked at as a vendor for these large organizations without affirmative action. And now they're one of the most trusted vendors for that, for some of these large communications organizations. So that is the thing that folks don't understand, is that it gives people a foot in the door, a seat at the table, just to be considered, to show that they're good enough. So I think that the idea of DEI as this way of having quotas and you gotta, you're passing over white people to hire black people or black companies, that's not how it works, people. It works that, hey, Go look at some of these black companies. Go look at some of these women-owned companies. Go look at some of these veteran-owned companies, because it's not just race either. And that's the other part that I think a lot of people didn't understand, is that they were thinking, oh, DEI is only about getting black people or Hispanic people jobs. And it's like, no, all you women out there that have women-owned companies, all you veterans that have veteran-owned companies, it gets you in the table too. It gets you a chance to be looked at, so that you're a small budding organization. You're able to come to the table and say, I can do just as well as this company that has been around for 70 and 80 years when I couldn't start a business, right? So that's the difference there. It's very difficult to just be like, oh, I'm just as good as the person that's been around for 80 years when they were able to set up an organization or a company. And me as a woman, I wouldn't have been able to do that. So my company is only 20 years old, right? Like that is a big difference there. And that's what DEI and affirmative action does for you. And so all of that goes out of the window. Again, I'm so frustrated, and so I'm trying to kind of rein it in and hold it back. But it's just sad, bro. It's sad. It's really, really sad. But I will lighten it up. Sonic 4 is coming out, and so they've already announced that Sonic 3 is doing great in the theaters. And they said that one of the ideas for Sonic 4 towards the end is they are going to introduce Super Smash Bros. So they're going to start bringing in like Mario and Pac-Man. So anybody who plays Super Smash Bros. Knows that there's a bunch of different characters. Legend of Zelda's in there. So there's a bunch of Nintendo properties. There's a bunch of like Sega properties. So Sonic is involved, everything. They're going to bring all those together, and they're talking about doing like a shared multiverse with all those different things in there. So you might see the Mario movie came out. You might see that Mario in the Sonic movie, and they'll do some type of fighting type thing like a Smash Bros. So that may be what Sonic 4, or they just may have a Super Smash Bros. Movie that has all of them coming in to do some type of fighting tournament. So I'm super excited about that. So just to get off the political aspect and not feel so bad about stuff, I'm amped about that one. So if they do that, I'm good with that. Okay, I'm off my soapbox for now. I'll get back on it eventually, I'm sure.
Let's go ahead and jump into the show, fellas. Anything else you guys want to contribute? All righty, let's jump into it. Is Sophie available?
She is. Hold on one second.
At Rocket, we believe everyone deserves their shot at the American dream. So if you're feeling locked out of home ownership, we're here to give you back the keys. We're opening doors, breaking down walls, and doing everything we can to turn renters into owners. And we're not going to stop until we help everyone home. To find out more, visit rocket.com. Rocket, own the dream.
I know every operating system like the back of my hand.
When it comes to 5 years of experience and have worked with several people from your company, I've been recognized for my passion. My team is everything.
LinkedIn delivers candidates who rise above the rest. With an up-to-date view into shared connections, skills, and interests you won't find anywhere else. See why 86% of small businesses who post a job on LinkedIn get a qualified candidate within a day. Post a job for free at linkedin.com/achieve. LinkedIn, your next great hire is here.
You think we're going to have a blue wave in 26?
I don't know. It may be, we may have to wait till 28. We'll see though. Let's see if he continues. What's going on, Sophie?
Yeah.
What's up?
I think there'll be a little bit of backlash coming into 26. Like we'll probably pick up and maybe take the house back. But then after that, we'll see in 28. But yeah. Oh, my bad.
What are we talking about?
We're talking about that boring talk right here.
I'll tell my joke to lighten up the mood because this sounds really boring, and that's not cool.
Yeah, it's not.
Not cool at all. Okay, what do pirates pay for corn?
Why do pirates pay for corn?
What do pirates pay for corn? Like, what do they use?
A
buccaneer. Yeah.
Y'all wouldn't have got that one.
I know. I was trying to.
No, I knew it.
Yeah,
I knew it. I had to get a good one because you guys were figuring out too easily.
Corn cob pipe, but his nose. 2 eyes made out of coal.
Very well.
Can't let you guys get them anymore.
You win this week.
I win this week. I get my victory.
All right, little Joker.
I get a victory.
Baby Joker.
I feel like I went first last time.
I think I went first.
Did you?
Or did we only got one question last week?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
So I'll yield and let one of you guys go first.
I can go. first, since I'm on my soapbox, and I want to get back on my soapbox. But actually, this is not necessarily a dig on Donald Trump. I want to ask a question that actually has a little bit of nuance to it and could make sense one way or the other. So we're recording on Sunday. So on Friday was the first time that, and I don't know how long, if ever, but we deported a illegal mother with her U.S. born children from the hospital. And so that happened this past Friday. That was the first time that it's been reported. I don't know if it's going to happen more, but Trump signed one of his executive orders. Was he signed a bill to, stop birthright citizenship. So the 14th Amendment says that if you are born naturalized in the United States or naturalized, you are considered a citizen. The argument for the listeners out there is that if somebody is here on an H-1B visa, or they're here on a temporary visa, or they're here traveling or something like that, then they don't count, right? They don't get citizenship for that child in that situation. And so that's spelled out. And so the argument is, if somebody is here illegally and they're not here on actual papers, or they're not naturalized, how do they get birthright citizenship if they're here, when we make exceptions for actual legally people being here legally that are from another country? And so that's the argument that Trump is using, and that's the argument he's using to deport these folks and not give citizenship to those children, right? So they will not get a U.S. birth certificate, anything like that. I want to ask you guys, do you agree with birthright citizenship or not? Do you, or this instance of birthright citizenship where somebody is here illegally, and so they technically shouldn't be allowed to, their children shouldn't be allowed to get citizenship that way? Do you agree with birthright citizenship or not?
Well, a federal judge has paused that executive order, so look for that to make it all the way, I guess, to the Supreme Court. And I think Congress would have to ratify that anyway. So it's a lot of steps before that becomes law. But I'll be brief, because I feel like this one of them conversations where I have to jump back in after other people answer. But no, I'm not for birthright citizenship.
Okay.
As you explain it and I think about it, I go back to the initial thing with the word illegal. I think if they're in a process, if there's been an attempt made for citizenship, because there's a long list, there's a long line, there's a wait list. It takes time.
Those people would be considered here legally, right? So that's the difference there. So if you're applying, but you're here on asylum or whatever, right? Like you are tracked as a naturalized person, or not even naturalized or citizen, but you're here, right? Okay. On a green card, you're here on something where we know you're here, and so you're tracked. That's you're here legally. That doesn't mean you're permanently here legally, but you're here legally.
He's talking about people that have literally
just crossed the border and just As for one, I'm with Buff. As long as they do that across the board, right? It's not just targeted to one group of people. Because I almost think of it as I take my emotional hat off, right? I look at it almost like squatters' rights, right? It's somebody just gonna come to your house, and if you're not there, they start living there. It's like, they found the loophole, right? And somebody else did what they needed to do. I get that. I think there's going to. I don't think you're just gonna start it overnight, though, right? Like it's gonna affect some people. Like you gotta gradually by 2026, this goes into effect, and anything, they need to put the right parameters in place to make this happen. But unfortunately, I have to agree that I do think he I hate to agree with him, because I think he found the loophole, and I don't think he's necessarily doing it for the right reason. Right? Yeah. It's just, this is a loophole to get them, the Mexicans, which in his world are all Mexicans, out of here.
Yeah,
but
I agree. I think that there's a political slant to it, right? It's, hey, children of immigrants tend to vote Democrat a lot of times because Democrat policies are all about kind of that, not open border. I won't say that, but they are about more open borders and all of that. And I think when you look at it from a Trump perspective or a MAGA perspective, it's not necessarily that birthright citizenship that people are so outraged about. It's all the other things that they attach to it, right? It's, oh, you can't come. We are closing all the borders. They are talking about H-1B visas and everything. And Bernie Sanders is on board with that, right? Cutting H-1B visas and everything. So it's not like a Republican, Democrat, independent type of thing. But when you add all those other things, when you say we're closing the borders, we're not going to allow, asylum seekers in and everything like that. We're not being good neighbors to people that are in these war-torn countries and everything like that. I think that's where everybody kind of gets on their soapboxes and just get angry. But when it comes down to, I like your analogy, Ferg, of the whole squatter, right? It's like, hey, I'm fine if you came over here legally and you had a baby and that baby's a citizen because we allowed you to be in this country. You did whatever you needed to do. And so, yes, we knew you were pregnant or you got pregnant while you were over here legally and you had the baby. But again, there's already exceptions. If you're here on like a H-1B visa or whatever, your child doesn't get citizenship just because the child was born here. So again, we can actually start. That's what scares me a little bit, is that we start that slippery slope of, now we're starting to say, yes, we will allow Europeans in, but not, South Americans in. And if they have babies, then they get citizenship because that's the law, right? About, it's basically who's letting people in. Now you get to start seeing who's becoming citizens based on who we're letting in. That is what really scares me when you start talking about only legal people coming in. And now you're like, who controls the faucet of who gets to come in and have those babies for the birthright citizenship part. And so I kind of agree I agree that yes, if they're here legally, they probably shouldn't be. But on the flip side of that, I don't know how many of those people are making a huge difference, right? And maybe that's what we do, is we don't give them immediate citizenship, but they get like a DACA citizenship, or they get some other type of legalized status that, hey, if you stay here whatever 20 years or whatever and you do these things, then you become naturalized, right? So you don't automatically become a birthright citizen, but you have a path to citizenship based on other things that happen, right? Your parent has to go back, and you get to you can stay here, but it's up to you whether you're going to go. Your parent's going to take you back, but we aren't allowing your parent to stay here and not deport them because they had a baby here.
And I think that's the challenge. Herein lies the challenge: is, are people, and I'm saying they are, but is there a way to use your child as the
anchor baby argument, right?
Yeah. And so you force the parents back. You force a 40-year-old's parents back. What happens to that 40-year-old? You have another person in the system. Are you creating more of a problem? Versus, like, truthfully, we keep thinking the moral way, right? We keep thinking morally. As Christians, as Democrats, we kind of have learned to accept this moral high ground. Versus, it's like, okay, yeah, they should be able to do this, but it's like, okay, we deport the parents. Now we have more kids in the system, which probably lose more crime and all this stuff, versus just saying this shouldn't even be an issue because neither one has done anything that they were supposed to do to be here. So you're here, that child is here, and it becomes and I hate to use the word burden, but a potential burden on the country if you deport the parents. What do you do with those kids? And are there enough issues with whatever we got going on in the country, homelessness and other things, that having a plethora of kids who are in the system does that open a whole nother can of worms? Is it worth it? Is the lemon worth the squeeze? Versus like, hey, you should have never been over here. You came over here illegally. Not saying you're a bad person. Not saying all the things that he makes you believe that all the immigrants are. I'm just saying, hey, you know what? You shouldn't be here. You didn't do what you needed to do. Yeah. And it sucks.
And maybe it's like, hey, if you do have a baby while you're over here, we're going to deport you. And the only way the child stays is if there's a naturalized person that that's going to take that baby in. You know what I mean? It's like it's on you. You have 7 days. You got 7 days to find somebody that's going to take that baby in. If not, the baby's going back with you. Right. And so again, they can have a legal status. They can be like, okay, this baby was born here in the United States. They are not a U.S. citizen. They have a path to citizenship, blah, 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 whatever that is that they write in there. And a U.S. citizen has to take that child in.
Yeah, I just want to make doing it the illegal way as discouraging as possible.
Yeah, yep. But it sounds like that's more paperwork, another process we have to iron out, more things we have to track, which essentially is more money.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think, I just see that just being I don't know. It sounds good on paper, but does that become like a baby trafficking, thing? Like it's a lot of potential wrong that can go with that,
Yeah. Like I didn't even think about that. It's like, ooh, boom! I got a whole business now where I'm buying Mexican babies. Right? Yeah.
And that's the Mexican. Does that become a thing? So
right. So I was surprised at the nuance there, because I think you hear the dichotomy of Republicans just are like no, and Democrats are like, yeah, they should be here, and they're I'm surprised that all three of us came out and was like, I'm with not letting them be citizens, right? And technically ending birthright citizenship. So that's one that you rip the Band-Aid off of the surprise of it all. I think most Americans probably are okay with it. Again, that's where Democrats have to start understanding the people, right?
Yeah.
Democrats are on this hill with this, and you aren't winning many votes based on that.
It's a significant amount of people here that are Mexican that they're not for like open borders, so to speak, as well. Like they was like, hey, they need to come here legally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean to a point where it's the more attention the illegal immigrants are bringing, the more attention all immigrants get. And it's like, hey, can we just stop having this immigration conversation? Mm-hmm. And I also think of it because we probably all know people. I'm in Texas. I'm in the West Houston, Katy, Cypress area, and that is a huge Hispanic population area. So, and I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be surprised if there's several kids or people at the schools that my daughter and my son go to that will fall under that criteria. Mm-hmm. Just being honest. And sometimes we have to get out of or challenge the mindset of, well, this happened to me, or we know these people, so it's acceptable, versus like, do we change the narrative to something healthier? I look at it as, and I hate to make this comment and I hate to make it sound like a negative thing. We talk about like single mothers and all this stuff, raising kids. Well, I was raised by a single mother. Like, great. And she did a great job. But do we need to promote two-parent households more, or two-parent, should we stop just allowing ourselves to go down this rabbit hole of like, well, this has already happened. I know some good people who were, born illegally and became this, and, the CEO of our company and all this. That's a great story. And it worked for that time period. But sometimes we got to take a stop and just say, like, how do we get back on track? How do we say, let's promote legalization? Let's promote there's ways around citizenship. And this is the route, and you got to do it. Hey, there's studies that show having this type of household or involvement produce better offspring and stuff like that, produce better results. Not saying it always works, but like, do we finally have to say, let's just stop accepting what we've seen and challenge it and say, maybe we have been going about the wrong way. Maybe we just, this is what we've heard and nobody really gave us a real good talking point. We haven't had a healthy debate that take emotion out of it and say, what's the better solution for the long haul?
Yeah. You know, and I hear a lot of people talk about, all the agriculture and all the jobs that nobody wants to do, blah, 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 blah. And I get that. And I think that's where we maybe start with like, hey, we're going to create a H-2B visa. I don't know. Cause H-1B visas are usually for like high tech, high demand, hard to fill positions, right? Where we don't have the skill sets there. But maybe there is a visa or some other visa that we developed to say, you can come here legally to work, right? And pick the work in the fields and blah, 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 blah. And it's a different visa from H-1B. But if a dole or somebody says, hey, I don't have anybody to handle my fields, right? And I need 30 people, 40 people to be able to come in and do that. So then you don't have to worry about that churn or whatever. And we're going to get those people. And now we can actually, one, make sure they're paying them a living wage and they aren't depressing wages for everybody else and blah, 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 blah. That goes along with it. So maybe that's something that we look at is actually bringing in a new visa or a second visa program that can do just that. And I don't know if it might actually already exist and I just don't know about it. So, but I think those are the conversations that we have to start having if we really want to go down that route of saying we want to handle the immigration problem, but at the same time, not demonize people for coming over, wanting a better life, not demonize the people that hire those folks because they're like, I can't have my stuff just riding in the fields because these white Americans or black Americans, those are, well, I don't want to call them white jobs, but, white Americans don't want to take those jobs, but we still need them done. How does that work? Right. So I want to stop vilifying everybody, to your point, Ferg, and those people just came over. They're trying to have a better life, blah, 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 blah. And I'm all for that. But we have to make sure that we're not depressing wages for the people that actually live here. We're not, having an unemployment rate that's not sustainable. And truthfully, our unemployment rate's okay. And people are trying to say that it's not. But we're right there where historically you want to be. We're almost at full employment, truthfully.
Or maybe put the onus on those companies to have some kind of legislation or super PAC or somebody pushing for legalization and helping them the path to citizenship. So one of the perks of working at a dole is there's a path to citizenship class or program that we are involved in with the government to track, yada, 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 yada. I get a little nervous because the more we talk about it, it is we're teetering on indentured servitude. We're teetering on freaking sharecropping, all these things where you can leverage your position over these people whose their goal is to become citizens or what and make money. Mm-hmm. And
now do we have faith in
American? Do we have faith in American business to not screw them over for that?
I feel like they're already doing that. Without that type of program.
Mm-hmm. At least we can have some government oversight of it, right? If we actually formalize it, versus them just kind of pulling up the Lowe's and grabbing 7 guys, and now I'm on my construction site with those 7 guys, right? Like that's, I think the difference there is formalize it and then saying,
it won't work because it's a DEI program.
That is a DEI program.
It's technically a DEI program, right? Back to the drawing board. Continue. God. Buff, what you got for us?
So I'm gonna stick with things that Razio brought up, and I remember this because when Ketanji Brown was going through her confirmation for Supreme Court Justice, she was asked and she wasn't able to answer. So this seems to have become somewhat of a controversial question. But how do you two answer the question, what is a woman?
I think it this is kind of the scapegoat answer. I think it depends on the need of the definition, right? So just think when you fill out a job application and you're talking about race and all, like, you know, when is it going to matter, right? If a baby is born today and on that birth certificate you put male or female, it's just that simple, right? If you want to talk about how somebody identifies when they work or something like that, I'm pretty sure we've all been in situations, and I don't even know if that's going to stop, is when you'll see an email and it's a signature, he, she, him, you know, he, him, whatever, you know. It's when you're applying for a job, how do you want to be identified? What's the importance of, you know, us fighting over how baby Buff is born, right? Like at 2 hours old, 5 minutes old, it's that baby's a he or a she. Why are we even bringing politics into it? I think when you're talking about just the sex of a person, the natural born sex of a person, you leave it at what it is. I don't think we have to go into too many details. When you start talking about how somebody self-identifies, we let everybody self-identify as anything else. Republicans and Democrats, like, you know, Cowboys, Ravens, Green Bay fans. Like, you self-identify all throughout your life. Why does this differ? You know, I think we overplay this hand. I think it's a conversation that just we need to come up with a decision. Just let that go, right? And it's the fact that this is a political conversation. This is something that people are up in arms about, and it doesn't really, and I won't say it doesn't, because there's complications and things, but it's a point that we just got to figure it out and just move on. So I just think you look at the natural born sex at the time, and when it comes to medical issues and stuff like that, because there's things linked to it, just like even with race, you know, there's certain or ethnicity or race, I guess, there's certain characteristics, there are certain diseases that you're a higher risk for, being black or white or Hispanic. So like sickle cell, right? So I can identify as white all I want, but if I'm more susceptible to be born with sickle cell, you need to be able to look, okay, this guy I understand he wants to be white, but you got sickle cell, right? Like, right. It is what it is. Hey, you want to identify as a male, but you're having a period. You're menstruating.
You got a prostate, right?
Yeah,
like,
You're going through menopause. Like, these are serious things we have to think about when it comes to a natural born medical or stuff like that. You know, we'll look at that how you want to identify, how you want people to treat you. That's completely different. That's up to you. And I really don't think we should continue to beat that drum. So
yeah, I think, you know, we talked about this a little while ago. I really feel like there's a difference in gender and sex, and that really is what it comes down to. And to further to your point, in what context are we trying to use it, right? In a medical context where I need to know what your actual sex is, right? I need to know what's happening inside your body. Do you have, you know, a uterus, right? Do you have, do you have testicles? I need to know that, right? So I think if we could get the stigma off of it, I don't think trans people would really care if you're like, hey, what's your sex? And they would be like, well, I'm female, right? Even if they are presented as a male, whatever, it's like, I'm female because I have women parts, right? And I really think it just comes down to that. It's like, what parts do you have? How do I have to treat you if all else fails? I strip away the clothes, I strip away how you want to act and how you want to present, and you are in a car accident. What do I need to do there, right? And how I need to treat you, and do I need to test if you're pregnant or not, and this, that, and the other, because it may happen. Those are the things I think we should just biologically whatever you present as, right? Or not present as, but whatever you're born as, right? Biologically what you're born with, the tools that you have. And then talk about gender identity, I think is very fluid. And it's a social construct. That is, right? In Thailand, you can be 32 different genders versus China, you may be able to have 2, right? And where on the spectrum are we? And in the United States right now, there's the argument of where we want to be on the spectrum with that. But I really feel like when we talk about respect the actress, I really do think we need to respect the asterisk and say you're a trans woman, trans male. And I just think that maybe that would be the very easy thing to do, is just say, hey, we have male, trans, female, non-binary, and female. Those are the genders, right? And so you're going to be one of those. Now, I don't know how you get to 32 in Thailand, but whatever. But I think gender identity, to first point, is you pick. I really don't. That doesn't matter, and it shouldn't matter to anybody. And so I really don't care what you present as. If you want to dress up but still keep your tools, cool. If you want to, change the tools, cool. If you want, I really don't care. Like, I can call you whatever you want to call you. I'm going to interact with you as a person, right? You're a person. You're a human being. But when we talk about, again, your sex and how I need to treat you from a medical perspective and everything like that, I really do feel like it's what you're born as from what you present as physically. So, and just keep it at that.
Did he sign an executive order making it only 2 genders now? Mm-hmm. Wasn't that one of his?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how you enforce. I don't know.
Well, the thing is, he can enforce it on any government type form, anything like that, and that's what his executive orders do, right? He's administration. Yeah. He can't really do anything outside of that. But when you think about hospitals and everything, right? They have oversight from the government, and so if the hospital is given those options, the hospital will have to figure out how to translate that into that binary male female that the government is saying for any reporting or anything like that they do there. And when you make it hard for companies to be able to do their reporting, especially if they're in a regulated industry, banks, hospitals, FCC, anything like that. If you think about anybody like that, companies, right, when they have to worry about the FCC and controllers and everybody like that, those companies are going to do whatever they need to do to actually be in compliance before they get fined. So if it makes it harder for them to do that and report, then they're going to just swing to, well, I'm going to put this on my form because then I can just directly, send it on the report to the government versus me saying, oh, well, I put 7 genders on mine and these 3 go to this one and these 2 go to that one. And so that's how I'm going to do it. So now you've got data manipulation to even produce your report to go to the government. Nobody wants to have to do that. And so they're going to align their questions to their employees based on what they have to do for their compliance reporting. So that's how it ends up working. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to say a woman is an adult female. A man is an adult male. And that just goes by what you're born as. As far as what you want to be addressed as and your gender, I don't know why that makes some people so upset. It's a man, I'm gonna call him a man. Like if you're presenting yourself as a woman, I don't see how it inconveniences you to address that person how they want to be addressed. Where I push back on, though, is the percentage of people that not only want me to address them as that, but in some type of way, like change my mind to where, because like I'll say, I'll address you as a woman or I'll address you as a man, but to me, you are this or you are that. And they want to somehow change that as well. And I kind of push back on, like, you can't control how I feel, but I have no problem respect, because I think everybody deserves certain levels of respect. And if that's how you want to be addressed, I would definitely do that. But when they start trying to like in Canada, how they try to pass the law, forcing you to address people a certain way like that. I don't think anybody should be forced to do it by a government law. And then I think the other pushback comes from the whole sports conversation and things that we've had on this show before and that we've seen out there on TV and different platforms. I think I can understand those pushbacks a little more. But in general, man, anything that's new and different, especially in this country, you know, acknowledging trans people as a sex that they want to, a gender as they want to be addressed as, that's still relatively new for some people. And you always get the type of anger and things like that. So I don't know if it's one of those things that's just going to take more and more time to where it's no longer a hot button issue, but it may fall in the category like abortion and things. You know, when I say abortion is always a hot button issue. Mm-hmm. Every election cycle, it has never not been a hot button issue. And that may be one of those things where people just dig their heels in and it's always going to be an issue going forward.
Yeah, I think it'll be for a very long time. I think it's a generational issue, right? I think Gen Z, Gen Alpha, right? Gen Beta. By Gen Beta, I don't think it'll be an issue anymore, right? I think they will have so much exposure at that point that it may be okay. It may go a little bit longer. I mean, you think about, we're talking about DEI now, right? And Black people, we're fighting back from 50 years ago and trying to kind of, you know, we're seeing this white lash, and so there's going to have to be another fight. So it may be that's a cyclical thing that happens just like we do, but I do think that it's going to shift a little bit with like Gen Alpha, Gen Beta. When you start talking about that, they will have seen it so much and be exposed to it, and I think that's why the Republicans and MAGA are so scared of the exposure, right? They don't want the exposure because they want that argument to stay on their side. And it's just representation matters. And as people start seeing it, they get more comfortable with it to where, kind of like you said, I can call you whatever, I really don't care, but I still see you as a man or a woman, right? Eventually, it's no big deal, right? We may end up as Thailand and with 32 genders and nobody even cares. And so I think that's really where it's going to go, is that it'll shift that way. And the minority voice will be those folks that are like, grr, I hate, trans people. And they don't want that. They don't want to become a minority in any way, shape, or form.
How new is that 32 sex identities in Thailand thing? Is that fairly new? Have they been doing that for a long time?
They've been open with all of those. I think for a lot of countries, it's been rather fluid. I mean, when you talk about Rome, right, it was pretty open that they were having sex with little boys and stuff like that. So the gayness of it all, and you'd have kind of more feminine or queer people. They, in ancient plays and stuff, they'd have that caricature there. So it's not like it's a surprise that they were happening there. So I think it's fairly new, but I think, or it's not fairly new, the mindset or the mentality of it. I think it's fairly new for them to actually define, like, hey, here's the things, and put it on paper, and so you can actually select or whatever one of them. So
it's been almost 10 years for New York City. They got like 31 genders.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things. There's a couple of things, like Buff said. As long as they're not, there has to be a give and take, right? It can't be, and we've talked about this, as the problem with cancel culture and being an ally or whatever is, you, for whatever reason, it seems that people want others to agree with them 100%.
Yes.
If you, hey, why can't you be okay with this 80%? It goes back to, I think, the 20% is like, look, hey, I'm not racist. I'm 80%, I'm 20% racist, 17% racist. Like, there's still things I believe. Rise, I go to you. You are biracial, right? But the world, for the most part, sees you as a black man. Right. Like, you can go around beating your chest and telling everybody you're just as black as you are Italian, and like, okay, nigga, like it's, you know, like, is it worth the fight? You know, there's probably a lot of people that don't know you're half Italian. Like, you're just as black as you are Italian. Like, it's just that simple, right? That's what it is. With the identity, it's Buff says, hey, I'll respect your wishes. It's not that serious to me. And maybe I don't, you know, I'm not going to say, you know, I'll call you she, but I still look at you as a man. Like, I don't have to say that. You know, there's no need to say that. You know, it's one of those situations where I say, like, what do you want to get out of this conversation? You know, if I say I'll call you she, and it's like, you're like, and you agree that I'm a woman, like, look, you said you want to call you, like, what do you want out of this, right? Do you want me to call you she, or do you want to have this whole my belief system? Like, I respect you enough as a human being to call you whatever you would like. Yeah. Can we stop there? Now, because I still have my own challenges I'm trying to overcome, because we all have kids, you know. This is where that asterisk works. You know, I can respect you, but if my daughter sees a young man who's been going to school with her, she's in 4th grade, that's been going to school with her since kindergarten, all of a sudden identify as a girl, and now she wants to go in the same bathroom as her. And we've taught our daughters that you shouldn't be in the bathroom with a boy, and all of a sudden, but now all of a sudden, you know, John is Jane, or whatever the case may be. And now Jane's in the bathroom with Skylar, in the bathroom with Sophie, in the bathroom with and you're looking at Jasmine being like a lot older as well. So, you know, fully developed, you know, young woman, and she feels uncomfortable. What becomes my stance now? I'm an ally, but I also have to protect my home and the concerns and things of my kids. And I can try to teach them, but they have the right to be fearful of the unknown. Change is tough. Like, what do we do? You know? Mm-hmm. And so there's those conversations as well. You know, hey, you ask somebody, it's like, hey, what am I supposed to tell my kid? She's 9. She doesn't get it. Like, you just want her to have this adult mindset. She doesn't get it, or he doesn't get it, or whatever the case may be. What do we do? Am I supposed to support you or protect her? And I think that's a conversation we need to have, because you can always fall back on that. What about the kids? What about the kids? And that's their scapegoat, you know, and then they're going to over sexualize, and my daughter's going in there with this boy and yada, yada, yada. He might, it's like, ma'am, he's 6, right? He's 9. He's not thinking about touching or molesting your daughter. Like, you know, most, like, you know, we can assume, you know, but they
and again, it's not, he woke up like, I'm a girl, I should go to the bathroom. Like, they've talked to medical professionals. Like, there's a lot that goes into letting that child go back to the girl bathroom, other than just that boy waking up saying, oh, I think I'm a girl today. I want to go in the girl's bathroom. Right. So, and maybe that's a little bit of education there of, here's our process to allow a trans student to switch bathrooms. Right. They've hit these gates. They've talked to these people, these medical professionals, psychiatrists, yada, 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 have said that they agree that person, you know, trans identifies. So at this point, we will allow them to go over there.
You have to go all that to say you were a boy. It's one of those conversations. It's like, what do you do? There's nuances. It's like, so until we figure it out,
because there's also trans that's not gay, right? Like, it may be that they're a trans girl or trans woman, but they still like girls.
Yeah. And so, so that, and the fact that you have gay women, I mean, you have lesbians and gay men going in the same sex bathroom, right? So, and I'm not trying to villainize any of these people. Like, where do we draw the line with bathrooms? Like, how many do we need to have? 32 different bathrooms?
Yeah.
Well,
a lot of places are going to, they don't do open bathrooms anymore, right? It's like outside is where you wash your hands, and each one of them has an individual stall, right?
Oh yeah, I've seen.
Yeah, but that's for newer buildings, and that's a lot that takes money and all this stuff. How much money how much would it cost to do that at each one of your schools for your kids?
Yeah.
And who pays for that?
Yep, not Department of Education, because Trump's cutting all funding from that. So okay, never mind. Let me get back on my soapbox.
good questions, fellas. I'm gonna defer until next week. I think we've had a good show. Let's go ahead and close on it out.
All right. Only thing I got, like I said, I've been on my soapbox. I'm on my gloom and doom this week, and the other part is that the alt-right and the Nazi movement is they're winning right now. I read an article. There's a women's group. Hold on, I'm going to pull it up so I can actually say what group it was. There's a Tennessee Republican women's group that has a reading list on leadership, and they have Hitler as assigned reading on their list. And so that is how comfortable the alt-right and the Nazi movement and the neo-Nazi movement is at this point, is that they're openly saying, we agree that these things are okay and that they were good things, and we will tell people about it and be open about it. That's how emboldened they are. So I just want everybody to understand that, you can downplay that guy doing that movement or that gesture and not think that it's a big deal. But right after he did that gesture, the alt-right and neo-Nazi movement jumped up and said, we're winning. Did you just see that? Right? What was the phrase? I'm not saying you're a Nazi, but Nazis really think you are. That's really ultimately what it comes down to, is that they feel like they're winning. They're being more emboldened. And when you look at the policies that are out there, they're winning right now. And Project 2025 is real. And Donald Trump and his administration is going down the list and checking it off. Right? Like it is not something that he's moving slowly on and quickly on. He tried to go in and fire the inspector generals out there, which are, appointed, and they're lifetime appointments. And because we don't want people that have political loyalty or anything like that, it literally should be, I'm appointed for the rest of my life and I'm going to do what I need to do in there. He went in and tried to fire them without giving Congress notice. And so shout out to the inspector generals that said, nope, we're not leaving our posts until you give the 30-day notice and you give reason, and Congress ratifies that, right? That's how you fire an inspector general. And you have to have specific things about that individual person, not just, I don't like their political leanings or they've done things, blah, 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 blah. So we have to stand up as a people. We have to stand up as a group. We have to stand up as Americans that don't agree. Then we want to go to Nazi Germany and become Nazi Germany. And so folks, watch out, listen, and be ready to stand up and go out and vote and do whatever you need to do. Hold people accountable as we go through this, because it's going to be a long 4 years. That's all I got.
Just to pick up add some to that 2025 comment. In just 1 week, the executive orders he signed have either mirrored or at least closely mirrored 67% of what's in that Project 2025 900-page document. 67% of that document, his executive orders have already mirrored. And that's pretty astounding for someone who said he didn't even know what it was and he never read it before. All I got is, I mentioned the fires in California last week, man. I especially want you guys to pay attention to the community of Altadena. It's a predominantly Black neighborhood out there. Pacific Palisades, Malibu, all of those, they've been getting the coverage. But we know far too many times when predominantly black neighborhoods get destroyed, not only is it devastating to those people that live there, but usually the state and the county are very reluctant in rebuilding that neighborhood. Mm-hmm. So on top of them losing everything, it's like, where do they go? Much of the reason why they even wound up in that area is because, just like they do with so many black neighborhoods, they built interstates to go through them and pretty much destroyed those neighborhoods, and they had to settle on that location in Altadena. So I have a couple of links for displaced families in the neighborhood. If anybody's interested in their GoFundMe, it has a spreadsheet of who has collected what so far, if you're interested in that. But just keep those people in mind. I'm not saying, this is not a DEI comment. I'm not saying the Palisade peoples don't deserve the coverage they've gotten, but they've gotten the coverage. And I just want to make sure these black people in California are not forgotten about. So I just wanted to put that out there. And also, man, look, for Three Brothers No Sense, this is the year that we're trying to see some substantial growth. We appreciate you guys helping us grow over the years, and we're trying to really take it to the next level this year. So please tell your friends about the show. Subscribe. We're on any podcast platform. Download that Inspire You on Air app and check us out on Contentville. Follow us on social media, man. We appreciate the love and support you guys have given us.
Thank you, fellas. Those are good things to recap. Just two things. One is I hope everybody's getting back to normal. These last couple of weeks with the weather have been crazy. There's no such thing as global warming. But the southern part of America got hit with winter storms, and we saw record snowfall in cities like New Orleans and Mobile and, even Houston. I think we had 4 or 5 inches of snow. It's crazy out there. A lot of people didn't. My kids had a 5-day weekend coming from MLK to 2 days of snow. Well, 1 day of snow, 1 day of ice, where it wasn't really safe to drive on our roads. And for all our northern listeners, it's not that we're scared of snow or ice. It's just our cities, our Department of Transit does not have the infrastructure to clear our roads. We had several large accidents over bridges and stuff like that, just because it's 80% of the ice is melted. They hit a slick patch and cars flipped over and things like that. So just reminding people, be safe in those storms. I have to remind myself to enjoy it. I continue to work. I went out for a little while with the family, but I continue to work, and probably just should have took the time off to enjoy it, because that's probably that's definitely a rare occasion here in Houston. And I loved for everybody who did take advantage of seeing the pictures, you guys enjoying it. My people in Mobile seemed like they had a blast. The videos were hilarious, and it was just good to see people enjoying themselves. And last but not least, can you guys let me know when they have the official meeting on, I mentioned cancel culture earlier. I don't know if we're still canceling Snoop and Nelly. I know that was a hot topic on several Facebook pages, and people were really upset. They were saying black men are not going to cancel Nelly and Snoop. And I think Rick Ross, like they did. I will say that was not a Trump event. I've said that a couple times to people. It was not a Trump event. It was a crypto event. It was a lot of MAGA supporters there and stuff, but the event was not a Trump affiliated event. It was a crypto event.
Rozzy just trying to find a loophole.
No, I'm not.
That shit was a Trump event, man.
It wasn't. It was in celebration of, Donald Trump or whatever, but it wasn't a Trump hosted event or anything like that. It was the crypto folks were there doing it. And so there's nuance there with that, right? For me, it is. I mean, it wasn't a Donald Trump sponsored event. It wasn't his inauguration.
So we know Rozzy's not canceling anybody.
Ladies, he don't have y'all back.
But it's funny because, and I'll just joke about it. I don't know. I don't really recall canceling Chrisette Michele. I just found out it was we're canceling Chrisette Michele. Oh, okay. Like I can't name 2 Chrisette Michele songs, right?
I can't. No.
And so it became this huge thing. And I'm like, let this not be another thing that separates us.
It was such a straw man too, because Nelly and Snoop definitely got smoke on social media from black men, from everybody. And people were saying they were going to cancel them. But sometimes I think black women have been truthfully victims and victimized to where they sometimes look to be the victim when they're not.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, there was equal, if not more, amount of smoke for Nelly and Snoop.
Yeah.
So much so that Nelly had to come out and defend himself.
But, you know, and the thing about it is you're mad at me. Like, I didn't cancel Chrisette Michele. I mean, nothing in my life changed about her. I didn't have a relationship.
Still listen to Aston Martin music.
I didn't have a relationship with her music and stuff like that. And so, like, I guess it was the assumption that black men cancel Chrisette Michele, right? And it was just like, it was kind of like, all right, if you said she's canceled, cool. With Snoop and Nelly, probably more so Snoop, it's like a lot of us had connections and we grew up on Snoop and stuff like that. And then even what we said over the last several weeks, I think a lot of us has taken a different stance on how we view this, right? Just like, you know, getting upset, fighting this, all this, it's pointless. America has showed us who they want. So why keep fighting it? Like, am I more disappointed than I was the first Trump election? Absolutely. Am I angrier? Probably so. But at this point, it's kind of like, will I let it affect me as much? No. Right? It's just like this time, what I've learned is you got to go with the flow. You got to take advantage of the situation. And I think that, and I'm not saying this is what Nelly or Snoop or anybody did, it was just like, you know, would I approach things differently this time? Will I approach things differently this time than I did the first time? And the answer is yes. And I think that might be where we're at. It's like, you know what? I can turn this money down, but for what? You know, I got to take advantage of the situation because apparently America and black men and whoever voted for Trump and all these people showed us that they support this guy. So why should I take the moral high ground? Right. We've all probably starved ourselves or so many different things before because we wanted to take the moral high ground. People stopped going to Target and stopped doing Chick-fil-A and we boycotted the NFL. To what avail? Right. It's kind of like, what's the point? So, unless there's a grill meeting and somebody has some really good notes that I can cheat off of about canceling Nelly and Snoop, I might sing along with this one. You can miss me with that. And for one, it's not that serious. It's not like I'm going to Snoop concerts or Nelly concerts anyway. But
I don't even listen to Nelly.
You know, exactly. So it's just one of those things. It's like, how outraged do you want us to be?
Right.
Like, what do we need to do to show you? You know, if Nelly came to Houston, did a free concert, like, am I not going? Probably not. Am I not going because he supported Trump? No. Or did something for Trump? No. Now, if Snoop has something, I might go. I can't believe you'll go. Yeah, that's Snoop, and I really haven't had a chance to see him, and, you know, doggy style.
Yeah.
The doggy style defense. So, that's it. That's all I got. But 3 Brothers, No Sense, 6 Rules of Podcast. Listen, like, share, subscribe, comment, and most importantly, listen again. Talk to you guys next week. Peace.